But I think as a man, you live with two gods. Listen to this. As a man, you live with two gods. You live with the god of the physical world, which is the Dan Bilzerian side of the spectrum. It's like hedonism, fat, sugar, food that tastes good but isn't good for you. Money, drugs,
temptation,
sex, lust, temptation. Yeah. That's the god of the physical. Then you have the god of the metaphysical, or the god of the spiritual, and that's Khabib, where it's hard work, dedication, training, a passion, a honor, a legacy. So I think as a man, your measure of a man isn't like which one of these things you follow. I think as a man, you can be somewhere in the middle, because I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. I feel like I've experienced some of the Dan Bilzerian stuff, and it did make me feel good, I'm not gonna lie. But I've also experienced the Khabib stuff, the hard work, the dedication it takes to build something.
And how did that make you feel?
That makes me feel a lot better as well.
So even naturally, a lot, do you think one of them makes you feel better than the other?
Well, I don't know if one of them makes you feel better than the other one, because people say, oh, this one feels so much better. I don't think that's the case, because I'm not gonna lie, fucking the other shit is really fun too. But I think one leaves a lasting feel good for the rest of your life. Because this is a feel good that, like, it's like eating a McDonald's cheeseburger.
It's
like binge eating McDonald's. You're like, oh, this is so fucking good. The happiness you get from eating McDonald's, your brain's releasing the same chemicals. You still have dopamine.
Immediately after you hate it.
Yeah, exactly. But then right afterwards, you're like, oh, what the fuck did I just do? So it's kind of similar in the sense, like, you get the same feel good. One doesn't last, one does last.
And I think that's probably what's the most important portion, or I think that's maybe why people can look at the Khabib kind of lifestyle and look at that grounded, honorable man and be like, man, at one point when you're older, you'll probably look back and say, maybe I could have done something. Not to say everything that you did was wrong. You'll always look back and be like, you know, I'm proud of the man that I was. But because temptation looks so appealing, because we've all experienced it. There's moments in which you can be tempted by something, you go through with the temptation, and it's not so bad. It has no negative implication on your life. You went, you enjoyed whatever the case was, you return back to life, and you're like, oh, well, now I know what the experience was like. I no longer have to engage in it, but at least now I know. It's the excessive use, or the excessive, you know, submitting.
It's too much of this and not enough of that.
Exactly. So there has to be a balance, I think, between the two, and I think that's ultimately why we have such an issue now with the masculinity, or even across anything.
People see this side and look appealing, and they don't look at that.
They completely abandon the other.
That's the thing, right? Because with Dan Bilzerian, we'll stick on this example. Let's say he's doing all this shit now, but let's say tomorrow he's like, you know what? Okay, I'm done with this. I'm gonna start a family. I'm gonna live a very wholesome life. I'm gonna continue to build my business and do that. I think he can confidently be on his deathbed, right? And he could be on his deathbed and be like, yo, that first 40 years of my life was so much fun. In the last 20 years, I accomplished my mission, I accomplished my goal. He can be completely fulfilled and happy. He's gonna live with zero regrets.
Because he's done it all. Yeah, exactly. He's done it all.
So that's kind of like what it is. And on the cross side of that, let's say you have a Khabib. I don't think Khabib is a good example, because I don't think he'll live with any regrets.
None whatsoever.
But let's say you have someone that followed like God's plan for them. They married the first woman they had. They did all this, and on their deathbed, they're like, fuck, I wish I would have done some of the other stuff. And they lived with the regrets because they didn't get to do the other stuff.
Because I think
or you see it all the time. The guys that marry one woman, they're 40, and they're like, they finally give in after 20 years, and it goes bad, it goes downhill fast, because they were bottling it in for 20 years. You know, and eventually like, fuck it, and have a midlife crisis.
But that goes to not living to the principle, because if you consider with Khabib, where he says, I don't lie. So if there's a moment in which you feel as if, oh, something's uneasy, because as we all know in relationships, it doesn't work if both parties don't work. The moment that one person's trying to overcompensate for the other, it's gonna fall apart. So if you're in a situation where it's like, all right, I got with this person, why did I get with this person? You have to be very intentional. The moment that you know, okay, well, they're grounded, we connect on our morals and our principles. The moment that things start to step away from that, I've got to now get you back in check or have to walk.
But I think
that's the thing. So sorry to interrupt you, but that's super important. There was, back in the day before I started listening to Jordan Peterson, he was one person, I agreed with everything he said, except when he was like, I don't believe in divorce. Even if you're miserable and you have a child, you have to stay with that person. I think divorce should be illegal. I was like, all right, that's a bit extreme. Now I totally agree.
100%.
I think it's like, if you made the shitty choice of not vetting the person correctly, but now you have a child, dude, it's not even about you anymore. It's about that kid. And you made a commitment. I think people take marriage so lightly nowadays. They think it's like, well, my friends are doing it. I'm at that age. I should get married. I've been with this person long enough. But then when the going gets tough, they're like, man, I deserve more than this. I don't need to be with a toxic person. Fuck you. You made a fucking commitment. You
100%.
brought all of your friends and family. You had this big fucking party. You did spend all this money for what? For it to be over in a few years? Fuck you. You made a promise to God. To God, dude. You got on your knees and you promised to God you'd be with this person through thick and thin, through health or sickness, whatever, poorness or wealth, whatever it is. And now the moment it starts getting tough, now the moment your promise gets put to the test, you're going to quit. Pussy. You are a pussy.
100%.
I agree with you.
Same
100%.
speech I gave my dad.
Yep.
Because when he was doing this thing with my mom, and he was like, they got divorced, and then he was trying to get back with her. And a month after he was like, I'm gonna try, he was like, your mom's too much. Fuck you, dude. Too much? What the fuck was the point of that then?
Right.
Well,
So,
right.
yeah, people take this marriage thing so lightly. You should stick with your partner, no matter how shitty they are. If you have a kid.
Right.
I mean, and if you made that commitment, be a fucking person of
Right.
David, I
unless
agree.
you're in a situation where it's like there's a violent factor,
Yeah,
unless you're in a
it's
situation where things have to, because your safety is in question. But I truly 110%
David, I
believe
agree
with
with
that.
you.
110%.
I agree with this 100% also.
100%.
I am going to be a little bit liberal on this one, guys. I have to be a little bit liberal on this one. And I think my only, I think at our age, you're 27, I'm 28. How old are you?
I'm 29.
29, cool. 27, 28, 29.
Yeah.
Now, if we make this decision now, we are grown enough to stick with our commitments. If you make the decision as an adult, you're good. What about these kids that get married at 18? Because they say, hey, you have to get married when you're 18 because that's how it works. You have to get married when you're 18, you have to stay with the same person. You're 18. You took me as an 18-year-old compared to now.
Oh,
bro,
different.
I didn't know shit. I was a completely different human being.
Yeah.
So how can you expect me to make a life commitment to a person when I'm not even fully a man
Yeah,
yet?
I think that
I
comes
can
out.
confidently, so back to what you were saying, Dave, you're like, oh, like be a fucking man about it. When I'm 18, I wasn't a man. I was a fucking
and I don't
kid.
think an 18-year-old should be put
Right.
to that sort of test.
I
Yeah,
wasn't-
even with military, I think they should start at 21, and I think that there needs to be some form of transitional period in adolescence as you're going from that 17 entering your adulthood. I think there needs to be a period between 17 to 21 to really prepare people for what adulthood
Really?
holds.
I disagree with that. I
but
think
that's-
military should be 18.
I think, yeah, I do agree with you. I think military.
Some guys need a kick in the ass.
No, some do, but the only thing is that with the commitment that now comes with it, I think the same sort of principles that stand and uphold within a marriage also uphold within, a military, because you must be in a situation where you're 110% committed to the mission that was
That's where that
set.
comes from for some guys. They get sort of disciplined
Military,
from the military.
No, right,
Because
right.
it's like, you have no fucking choice.
Right, but then there are that percentage, which I do believe is now growing based on the society that we're in now, where people will go say, all right, I'll commit to this, and then they'll quit. And then when they quit, they start to quit across the board in life.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why I think maybe if you were to push it to like 21, but then there's this adolescence college or adolescence academy that really prepares you for what you're gonna get into in adulthood, we're now producing the right kind of adults.